Series 3, Debt Management. We're going to be looking at something that affects many South Africans, many households, something that we need to get ahead of. Now, you might be asking, what is debt? Debt is money that you owe, and in most times, it's money owed through credit arrangements. Credit refers to the ability of an individual to obtain goods or services before payment based on a credit agreement that payment will be made in the future through part payments. Debt is used by many corporations and individuals as a method of making large purchases that they could not afford under normal circumstances. A debt arrangement gives the borrowing party permission to borrow money under the condition that it is to be paid back at a later date, usually with interest. When credit facilities approve and grant you a loan, the amount you owe becomes your debt. There is good and bad debt depending on how an individual has accessed their credit facility and why you have accessed this credit facility. It's very important for you to understand debt. The most common forms of debt are loans, including your mortgage, your personal loans, credit card debt. Under the terms of a loan, the borrower is required to repay the balance of the loan by a certain date, typically several years in the future. The terms of the loan also stipulate the amount of interest that the borrower is required to pay annually, expressed as a percentage of the loan amount. Now, interest is used as a way to ensure that the lender is compensated for taking on the risk of the loan, while also encouraging the borrower to repay the loan quickly in order to limit the total interest expense. Now, before taking on credit, there are things that you must assess. Number one, is this a need or is it a want? Ask yourself, can I wait longer and save instead of acquiring the goods on credit? Is it critical in my life at this stage? For example, is it necessary to buy a more expensive car instead of going for a cheaper car that still gets you from point A to point B? Ask yourself as well, is there an alternative payment method? Can I rather save for a few more months, then put down a deposit to reduce interest than taking on full credit? Ask yourself, can I afford the monthly installments required by the credit facility? Remember, you may be able to afford, but further ask yourself, is it a real need or is it just a want? Is the income sustainable in the economic climate to then meet requirements for a monthly repayment? Look at the effects of COVID-19 on the sources of income for many people. Look at the interest rates that are applied to your credit and repayment terms, especially if there is a balloon payment. Consider credit insurance. Credit providers may require you to take out credit life insurance during the term of the agreement, which settles your debt should you die, or should there be disability or retrenchment which prevents you from repaying the loan. Now, what rights do you have as a consumer under the National Credit Act? A consumer has the right to, number one, apply for credit. So it does not include the right to be granted the credit. That's up to the credit provider. They can still decline it on reasonable grounds. Number two, you have the right to be given reasons why your credit application has been declined. And the reasons must be provided to you, the consumer, within a reasonable time after your request. You have the right to protection, and this is protection against discrimination when you apply for credit. So a consumer may not be discriminated against as a result of his or her gender, race, marital status, and so on. You have a right to receive a quotation setting out the amount, the interest rate, other charges, and total costs under the credit agreement. You have a right to receive information and documentation in a plain and understandable language in order for you, the consumer, to make an informed decision when you enter into a credit agreement. For example, as a consumer, you must be able to understand the content, the meaning or importance of the information and the documents that you will receive. Now, what duties do you have as a consumer under the same act, the National Credit Act? A consumer has the duty to, number one, make payments in terms of your credit agreement. You need to honor your debt. Number two, inform the credit provider of changing or changes in your address, the address where goods under the credit agreement are kept, or if another person keeps the goods. You need to be honest and truthful when providing a credit provider with information, and you need to comply with the duties set out in the credit agreement. For instance, to take care of the goods or to insure the goods. That is on you.